Hey, what's up guys, DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Blackwing deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is my favorite deck of all time, and I've been working a lot on this deck recently to make it even faster than it was before. And with the release of Wing Requital, this deck has gotten absolutely insane with how fast you can get to your Black Whirlwinds and then turbo out your boss monsters to your side of the field because of all the searches. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell near so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name searched in a single video, getting a signed card to mail, and even getting your requested deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Simoon. This card is one of the best cards in the entire deck, and one of the cards you want to see in your opening hand every single time because this card gets you directly to your Black Whirlwind. It has the ability that if you control no monsters and have this card in your hand, then you can banish one other Blackwing monster from your hand and place a Black Whirlwind from your deck face up in your spell and trap card zone. Then either send this card to the graveyard or immediately normal summon this card without tributing, which is a great effect. Just immediately normal summon this card and get a search from the deck. It also has the ability that you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for dark monsters, which is not that big of a deal because the majority of the stuff we're summoning in this deck is dark anyways. You can only use this effect of this card once per turn, and then during the end phase, you send the Black Whirlwind that you placed on the field by this effect to the graveyard and then take 1,000 life points, which is not that big of a deal because we have cards to bounce the card back to our hand, like a copy of Zapdos the Elite, so we avoid that 1,000-point burn, and we get to keep the Black Whirlwind. We then play 3 copies of Chris. Chris is a really good 3-of in this deck because this card can actually special summon itself to your side of the field if you control another Blackwing monster other than another copy of Chris. It also has the ability that once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by spell or trap effects, which comes in quite handy in this deck to be able to just summon this card to your field and feel totally protected because you can just swing with a 1900 attack point monster. And plus, this is actually the largest Blackwing in the main deck, so it's a great normal summon if you already have Blackwing or Black Whirlwind on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Bora the Spear. Bora the Spear can special summon itself to your side of the field, and it does piercing damage. This card is one of the best cards because this card can actually special summon itself multiple times per turn, where Chris can only special summon itself once per turn. This card can special summon all 3 copies of Bora to your side of the field if you control another Blackwing monster. We then play 2 copies of Auster the South Wind. Auster the South Wind is a great search off your copy of Simoon because this card has the ability that when this card is normal summoned, you can target one of your banished Blackwing monsters that's level 4 or lower and special summon it back to your side of the field, which is really good because you'll get a search off of Black Whirlwind and get the card that you banished for the Simoon's effect back on your side of the field, essentially giving you 3 monsters plus an additional search, which is really good. You can also banish this card from the graveyard to activate one of the effects to place black feather counters on one Blackwing dragon that you control equal to the total number of cards your opponent controls, or place 1 wedge counter on each face-up monster your opponent controls that do not have one, which is a great effect, especially to combo with your Blackwing Full Armor Master. We then play a single copy of Blackwing Zapdos the Elite. This card is really good because what you do with this card is you bounce a card on your side of the field back to your hand, special summon this card from the graveyard, and then you take 400 points of damage, but you can only activate this card's effect once per duel. Then we play 3 copies of Gale the Whirlwind. Gale the Whirlwind can special summon itself to your side of the field if you control another Blackwing monster. And when this card is on your side of the field, you can target a monster your opponent controls and half its attack points, which is a great effect, especially if you're trying to get through and OTK your opponent. We then play 2 copies of Hamat the Dust. This card can special summon itself to your side of the field once per turn. And when this card is summoned to your side of the field, you can target a Blackwing monster that you control and increase this card's level by the level of the one you targeted. So for example, if I target a copy of Bora, this card will go to a level 6, which is really good to help me level manipulate into the exact level that I need so I can synchro summon it into some insanely powerful monsters. We then play a single copy of Gladius the Midnight Sun. If you control only 1 Blackwing monster, you can special summon this card to your side of the field. And once per turn, this card cannot be destroyed by battle, which is a great effect to just summon this card to your side of the field as a level 3 monster and help you synchro climb into some other cards. We then play 2 copies of Orochi the Squall. Orochi the Squall is easy to summon to your side of the field because all you have to do is control another Blackwing to summon it to your side of the field. And also it's a level 1 tuner, so it's really good to summon to the field to synchro climb into other cards. If you use this card as a synchro material, you can change the battle position of one monster your opponent controls, which is also really nice to be able to switch the positions of a monster that you want to attack. We then play a single copy of StaringAtGames for the small Raid Raptor package that we play in here. We play a single copy of StaringAtGames because it can special summon itself from your hand if you control a dark monster. And if you have a dark XZ monster on the field with a dark monster as a material, then it has the ability to target a level 4 or lower Raid Raptor monster in the graveyard and special summon it back. This card is really good as a one-up in here to be able to summon to your side of the field and go into your copy of 4 Strix or Y Strix. This card comes in very handy. We play a single copy of Raider's Wing because it's really easy to summon to your side of the field because if this card's in your hand or graveyard, you can detach your material from a dark XZ monster and then immediately special summon this card to your side of the field. We play a single copy of Raid Raptor Singing Lanius because you can special summon this card from your hand if you control an XZ monster. And then we play a single copy of Ancient Cloak and our copy of Phantom Knights of Silent Boots because you can actually banish these cards from the graveyard to either search a Phantom Knight spell or trap or the Phantom Knight monster or the Phantom Knight card off your copy of Ancient Cloak, which is really good for this deck to be able to search the exact cards that you need off of both of these to get to your copies of your Fog Blade, so you can go in for a little bit of negations to back up your copy of your full Armor Master. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Called by the Grave because the Called by the Grave pretty much stops our opponent from hand trapping us, which is really important, especially if we're trying to search off of our Black Whirlwind. Play a single copy of Harpy's Feather Duster because this card is great in this deck to be able to hit all the back row that your opponent's playing, so we don't have to deal with it while we're comboing. One copy of the Phantom Knight's Rank Up Magic Force because this card is easy to use in this deck to be able to rank up into other cards like our copy of our Ultimate Falcon that we play in this deck as well. This card is really, really good to go into all sorts of different XZs and banish cards from the graveyard that you no longer need to go into some insane plays. We play 3 copies of Black Whirlwind, which is single-handedly the best card in the entire deck. This card, when a Blackwing monster is normal summoned to your side of the field, you can search from your deck another Blackwing monster that has a lower attack than the one you just summoned, but you have to normal summon the monster. This is not a once per turn effect. If you can normal summon multiple times per turn, like a copy of Simu normal summoning itself, you get an additional normal summon, which then will give you 2 searches off of this one card. Also, they stack. So you can search, if you have all 3 Black Whirlwinds in your hand, you can actually activate all 3, normal summon a Blackwing, and get 3 searches off this card. This card is literally one of the most broken, crazy, like, searchers in the entire game, and one of the reasons I love this deck so much. We then play 3 copies of the new Wing Draw card. This card is so good in this deck. If you control all monsters or Wing Beast monsters that you control, and you control at least 2 monsters with different original names, you can pay 600 life points to draw 2 cards. This card is absolutely nuts in this deck because this card lets you get to your copy of Black Whirlwind really fast, and it's just an overall amazing card. We then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness because we really want to dig into the deck with the Allure of Darkness and the Wing Draw card. This card is so good in the deck to be able to just banish a card that you don't need in your hand and be able to draw 2 cards is really helpful in this deck. It's never bad to top deck into a copy of Allure of Darkness in this deck because you're always going to usually draw into a dark monster with all of the cards that you're playing in this deck. So this card is always a good card to see in your hand. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine. This card is here because it is actually searchable, and you use this card for XZ's plays in the deck. And it does come out as a level 4, 0 attack, 300 defense warrior monster, but it is super easy to summon to your side of the field and search off your copy of your Rusty Bardige. We then play 2 copies of Fog Blade as well. The Fog Blades are here because they're basically Fiendish Chains. They're easily searchable in the deck, and you can just activate these targeted effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects. It can't attack and it can't be attacked, but you can also banish this card from the graveyard to be able to special summon a Phantom Knight monster back from the graveyard as well. So this card is also kind of like a Monster Reborn, which is pretty good. So That's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing double Blackwing Full Armor Master. This card has 4 insane effects. This card is unaffected by all their card effects, and each time a monster your opponent control activates its effects, you place a wedge counter on that opponent's monster, maximum 1. After this effect resolves, or after that monster's effect resolves, once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls with a wedge counter on it, take control of it. And then once per turn as well, during your end phase, you can destroy all monsters on the field that have wedge counters. This card literally board wipes, unaffected by everything, puts the wedge counters in, and can take control of opponent's monsters. This card literally does it all, and is one of the best boss monsters in the entire game. We then play a single copy of Blackwing Tamer Obsidian Hawk Joe. Obsidian Hawk Joe is an amazing card, and I love this card in this deck. It's basically a monster reborn, because this card has the ability that you can target a level 5 or higher wing beast monster in the graveyard and special summon it back to your side of the field. So this card comes in very, very handy, and I love this card in this deck. We play a single copy of Raikiri the Rain Shower. This card is able to pop multiple cards on the field because it has the ability. And if this card is synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster as a material, it becomes a tuner monster, but it also has the ability that once per turn you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of other Blackwing monsters that you control and destroy them, which is super good to just board wipe your opponent so you can go in for game. We then play a single copy of Chidori the Rain Sprinkling. This card gets really, really big because it has the ability, if this card is synchro summoned using a Blackwing monster as a material, it becomes a tuner monster while face up on the field, and this card gains 300 attack points for each Blackwing monster in your graveyard. Not different names, just every single Blackwing in the graveyard, which usually by the time you summon this card, it's going to be quite a lot. It also has the ability that when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can target one Wing Beast Synchro monster in your graveyard except another copy of itself and special summon it back to your field. We then play a single copy of Blackwing Armor Master. Armor Master is really good because this card can be thrown in defense position and it can't be destroyed by battle. If it battles a monster, then you put a wedge counter on that monster, and you can pull the wedge counter back out to drop the opponent's monster's attack to 0, which is really good in certain situations. We then play a single copy of Nuthung. Nuthung gives us an additional normal summon, and upon summon, it inflicts 800 points of damage to your opponent, and it also has the ability to target a face-up monster that your opponent controls, and it loses 800 attack as well, which is pretty good if you need to get through a powerful monster. We then play a single copy of Beals. Beals is really good because it's kind of like Armor Master, where you can put this card on your side of the field, and once you put it on your side of the field, your opponent's going to have a tough time of outing it because it can't be destroyed by card effects, it can't be destroyed by battle, and anytime you take damage from attacks involving this card or from an opponent's card effect, then this card gains attack equal to the damage you took. So this card comes in really, really handy in this deck. We then play a single copy of Raider's Knight. Raider's Knight is really good because it helps us climb into the copy of Arc Rebellion, Xyz Dragon, which upon summon, cold waves the field by detaching a material, which is just absolutely crazy. And it gains the attack of every single monster that's face up on the field, but this is the only card that can attack. It can't be destroyed by card effects, so it's already protected by itself, and it can go in for game really, really, really easily. We then play for the Raid Raptors. We're going to be playing a single copy of Force Strix because this card will actually let us search from the deck a Dark Wing Beast monster that's level 4 from the deck. Super easy. We play a single copy of Arsenal Falcon. Arsenal Falcon is here because you can use this card to go into your copy of Ultimate Falcon. Ultimate Falcon because it's super easy to summon, and it's super satisfying to summon out your copy of Blackwing Full Armor Master and in your copy of Raid Raptor Ultimate Falcon. That is just crazy when you can get both the most powerful Wing Beast monsters in the entire game on the field at the same time in the same turn. But this card has the ability that it's also unaffected by everything. You can detach a material from this card, and for the rest of the turn, all monsters your opponent control lose 1,000 attack. And then also your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated. And if this card has a Raid Raptor as a material, then you can once per turn during the end phase make all monsters your opponent control lose 1,000 attack. And if you do, and they don't control a monster, then they automatically lose 1,000 life points, which is insane. We then play a single copy of Rusty Bardige because it's super easy to go into Rusty Bardiche to get all those searches. And how we actually climb into the copy of Rusty Bardiche is the Wise Tricks. Wise Tricks is super easy to summon this deck and a key combo piece in this particular build, because if this card is link summoned, you can special summon a level 4 Winged Beast monster from your deck that's dark and defense position, but negate its effects, and it cannot be used as link material. And if your Raid After XZ monster activates its effect while this card's on the field, you can set a rank up magic spell, which is our copy of our Phantom Knight's rank up magic spell, which then in turn lets us climb into our Ultimate Falcon and our copies of our Arsenal Falcon. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. Again, it's my favorite deck of all time. I've been working a lot on this deck recently to get the perfect list for you guys, and I think that this is it. This is like the deck that I will carry everywhere with me whenever I want to go play something. But this deck is really, really fun. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part notifications, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.